you. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. I'm really excited about my next guest, Pamela Farrel. She is here. We actually got connected through April Boney. We actually were on a summit together. So April had coordinated the summit, and that's where we got connected. And then we also did a panel discussion as moms, talking about how we're navigating through this global pandemic. So happy to have her here today so we can kind of reconnect again. Just love her energy, her creativity, and just her spirit as it comes to dealing with challenging times and just being that pillar of strength and example for many of us to really take note of and learn how we can incorporate some of her strategies so that we can be better versions of ourselves. So at this time, I'm going to give Pamela the opportunity to talk a little bit about herself before we get into the interview.
Hey, it's so nice to be with you, Michelle. I mean, it is. How often do you get interviewed by a super mom? I mean,
Aw.
a super mom. Where's your cape? Where's your crown? I'm looking for that girl. Yeah. Oh, I so admire how you parent. When we were on this summit, I'm like, oh, great idea. Oh, great idea. Where was she when I was raising my kiddos? But my grandkids and my daughter-in-laws, they get to benefit from your wisdom now. So I'm excited about that.
I love that. And, it's a work in progress. I definitely say it takes a village. And that is one thing I really can gravitate to when it comes to being a mom, because we do come together, and a lot of times it's like, how are you doing this? How are you doing that? Trading stories, experiences. So for that, I'm very grateful to be in that position.
Exactly. I like to
Hmm.
say we all need a success net of people underneath us as we walk this tightrope called motherhood, parenthood,
Yes.
life. Yeah. Um, so our most of your audience might be vaguely familiar with the Farrells. We are the authors of Men Are Like Waffles and Like Spaghetti. That's like our bestseller. And it
Oh.
has such a catchy, unique title that sometimes feel like, oh, that's who wrote that book. It's just like a humorous, practical, biblical look at marriage and our differences and how to make those differences work for us. Our ministry that I do with my husband, we're co-directors, is Lovewise. And we like to say we park ourselves on the corner of God's love and God's wisdom. And our theme verse for that is the one who gets wisdom loves life, right? And so we all want to love our lives. And so we help people with all their vital relationships, marriage, if they're dating, parenting, grandparenting, friendships, relationships out in the community, and definitely your relationship with God. If the vertical relationships working well, your horizontal relationships work a whole lot better too. So that's kind of what fills our days. Typically in normal times, we're international speakers. We travel a lot. But yeah, not right now, right? I have like a live event this weekend since February, and I'm like, oh, real people, what's that going to be like?
Right.
Yeah, get to interact and see folks' eyes at least. They might have their masks on, but at least I can see their eyes and we can be there together. It's a women's conference, and it's called Rise and Shine. You were designed for this. So, it's going to be a weekend of encouraging and equipping, much like you do every day, sweet friend. It's just, let's get our brave on and let's march forward. God is with us. And so, some practical, how do we walk that out? Yeah. So,
I love that. I listen to this podcast and he says, yeah, you need to make sure that your audio matches the video. So, it's like
oh,
walking and talking, right? Don't you just love that? I was like, I got to write that down.
it's so
So,
obvious. It's so good.
isn't that good? Especially now because we definitely are honed in on audio and video. I mean, that's all we are living for these days. So, talk to us about how you and your husband got started with such a ministry, and some tips on how you guys are working your relationship out, because a lot of people, as you can see with this pandemic, we have been together for more hours than we're used to. You know, some of
Yes.
us have had different jobs and go in different directions, and it's like, okay, we're all in this together, literally. So, what are some tips and just some things that you could share with your experience?
Yeah, so right now, we are walking out our message in that about 3 years ago we downsized, sold everything, gave most of our worldly possessions away to young families, to ministry couples, and we moved on to a live aboard boat to be near Bill's 91-year-old parents to help caregive for them. And I use the word help, meaning they were, fairly independent, but then Bill's dad had a second stroke. And so we moved an RV onto their property so Bill would have a place to work during the day. He would like caregive, work, caregive, put dad down, come back to the boat. But right before COVID happened, Bill's dad had a second stroke and needed much more 24/7. And then when COVID shut down all of our worlds, when our whole years speaking got canceled or moved forward, postponed for a year, we really had to pray about who's the best people to take care of 91-year-old parents. Well, it's Bill and I. We were the safest. But okay, we live in a 300 square foot RV right now. Like, don't be jealous. I'm living in your kitchen. You would understand this because you have a lot of people at your house, so sometimes it feels a little crowded. I like to tease that our abode is so small, I have to go outside to change my mind. And yeah, so some of the things that we are doing right now, like during this time, it was interesting. God had us write a set of books called The Marriage Meetup. And it's kind of like the secret sauce behind the question that we get a lot is, Pam and Bill, you've been married 41 years. You're so happy. You don't seem to fight a lot. Like, how come? And so we have had a marriage meeting. We call it Monday morning marriage meeting every Monday for 41 years. And that's kind of like we separate out romance from like the business side of our life. And so that way, when we go out on Thursday night, I'm Bill's girlfriend. It's all romantic. It's all fun. But Monday morning, it's like, all righty then, let's get down to business. But we have like honed this marriage meeting so that folks can, find the aha in their marriage. And the A is for attitudes. So we bring in God and the Bible and affirmations of each other, and we kind of bookend that marriage meetup with prayer and encouragement. And then H is for habits. And you got to deal with, you have to deal with like the finances and who's going to do what and who's scheduling who and, the projects, all that. So there's some habits in there, and there's a place to personalize. So if you're like trying to work on losing weight or spending more time like devotionally with your spouse, things like that, business side. And then the last A is for affection. And we actually write down when we're going to have that romantic date and when we're going to have what we call red hot monogamy. Woo! Yeah. And so then we close it up with giving like thank you for what you said or did during the meeting. Thank you for not being angry at me that I didn't get my job done. Whatever. We have a little bit of affection of what happened in that meeting. And so it's kind of a well-honed machine now after 41 years. And it's a his and hers devotional planner, 52 weeks. So God knew that we needed a good assignment. He was distracted, that we live in such a small space. But we figure if we can make love work in 300 square feet, we can pretty much live out our Love Wise principles anywhere at any time. So it's, it's a choice to rejoice. And it's a choice to be affirming. It's a choice to be loving. Like my husband likes to say, your emotions follow your decisions. And if you make healthy decisions, you'll have healthy emotions that will follow. Just do the next right, best thing.
Love that. That is so good. So, so many things here that are just questions that are coming up with how did you get started with this? Because many
Yeah.
people, they have that mindset of, you know, what's the difference? You're in a relationship, everything is just lumped in there like a pot of stew. So knowing that there is some of these things that are different and to the point of having a meeting, how did that come about? Whose idea was
Yeah.
it? And how did that, the longevity of it?
You kind of have to know a little bit of our backstory to know like how we got started in love wise, how we got started in this marriage meetup. In that I'm the firstborn daughter of an alcoholic dad with severe rage issues, like dial 911. That was like every holiday kind of thing. Yeah. A lot of rage, a lot of domestic violence. So that's the home I grew up in. And
Mm-hmm.
Bill's folks, Bill's dad is an amazing rocket science engineer, put men on the moon, space shuttle, all that. But now he's frail of body. And Bill's mom, she actually was mentally ill the whole time Bill was growing up. And so she's a hoarder, she's agoraphobic, she's pretty volatile. Like if you make any changes, she'll, erupt on you. And so we grew up around crazy. Like I think once everybody's passed away, my dad finally came to Jesus last few days of his life. But once all my mom came to Christ the same time as I did, I was 8 and she was 28. So yay, one healthy parent. We kind of grew up together. But after everybody is in heaven and they don't need us anymore, we'll probably write the book, The Crazy Train and How to Get Off. Yeah. So that's the background, right? And so we, from the very beginning, we had to be very proactive about making positive changes. Like we did an evaluation. What are the good things that were handed to us from our families of origin, and what is the insanity that we need to replace? A lot of times we get that question, what does it mean to respect your parents or honor your parents? And I love that my husband defines it as moving the family legacy to the place that God intended it to be. Not where it is, but where God intended it to be. And so by making that evaluation and deciding, okay, these are the healthy things. My parents were super loyal, both my mom and dad, very hardworking, very involved in the community. So keep those kind of things, keep those good country values I was raised with, like being neighborly and give the shirt off your back, that kind of a thing. God country, that picture, the heartland. And then what are we going to replace? Yeah, we're going to replace the fact that every holiday has to involve, somebody from the outside intervening. We're going to replace like needing to have a addictive substance to live. We're going to say no to all those addictive things. We're going to replace just kind of the wandering, especially of Bill's family, like not really having an inner compass with like the word of God being our compass. We're going to be proactive with our marriage. We are going to set up those date nights. We're going to have that marriage meet up. We're going to pray and make decisions together. We're going to do what we call romantic rituals. Like if you have a meal with us, we would say grace and then we would turn and kiss each other. And our kids are so used to that, and it looks like we're distracted, they'll flag us down. They'll be like, hey, the kiss, remember the kiss? Recently, our grandson, when he was about 4, we were having lunch together, and he must have been distracted because he like missed that we prayed and we kissed. He's like, wait, stop. And we're like, what, Rocco? And he's like, time out, Papa, kiss Nana. And so they're just used to that, a part of our family, fabric of our family life. So just being proactive helped us make a lot of good choices that God now is blessing. Like our kids, fast forward, we you and I were on doing that parenting, which is a great thing for folks to go back and watch that for some of us that were talking about parenting. But one of the things we did with our kids is we had like a learner leader day where we would negotiate privileges and responsibilities, and we would give a gift that applied to that uniqueness that we saw God building in each of their lives, and we gave them, a present every year to reinforce, who the identity that God had given to them, their calling, their passion. Well, fast forward, they all became like grown-ups that are responsible, that love God, that love their wives, that are great dads, etc. Love and serve in their church. So that was our prayer. I mean, we were like on our faces, Bill and I, when we, fell in love and got married and then had babies. We're like, Lord, please let the change be with us. Let us be that pivot point in our family heritage.
That is so beautiful. I just love that. And especially in a day like today, there's so much negative talk around divorce and, just disrespect, or the standard is just getting lower and lower for what marriage looks like.
Right.
So yeah, you may stay together, but it's like, we just compromise our values, whatever goes. And so I really just am fascinated with the story, and, just to know that it is the work that goes into it. Of course, especially you guys were going against the example. And so for people to really wrap their head around that, I talk to my kids about, something as simple as Abraham taking his son Isaac up, to be sacrificed. And, I really walked them through that. I said, you're out in the middle of nowhere. Your dad is blindfolding you and having you get up on this place where that's normally where stuff is. So, we read that story as if it is just something that was easily done, but imagine the thought process of a kid, and at whatever age he was, but just the trust that he had in his dad. But still, we kind of miss those points. Or Noah, he's building this ark. They don't even know what rain is. So imagine
Right.
how crazy he might have seemed, right? They had never seen it. It's like, what is this man's problem? Even to the point that nobody really is in the ark but his family and the animals, right? And
Yeah.
so we talk about these stories, but for having that time where you're building something and everybody is telling you you're wrong, that peer pressure and all that. So for you guys to be still together now, 41 years, and committed to what you started out being, I mean, I just think that's phenomenal.
It is a
So,
little bit of a miracle, and like you pointed out, it was those examples. The kids had trust in their parent, and the parent had trust in God. And I think that's how the system was intended to work, right?
yes.
If we put our trust in God, He adds Himself to the mix. Like we like to use that example of, let's do our best and commit the rest. It's kind of like that. Jesus needed to feed the 5,000. So he borrows like a kid's lunch with some fish and some bread. He adds himself to it, and everybody's fed. And that's what God will do. If we just like, hey, this is our best, God. Can you like add yourself to this mix? And he will answer that cry.
I love that. Now, so talking to us about the issue of you downsizing and simplifying and getting rid of worldly things, because this is, even though we're on this road, your kids, they see you as examples. Even people within our own household could be like, okay, they're going off the deep end now. you know, they're selling this stuff and moving in an RV. Okay, this
Right.
is
You're
just a
gonna move
little much.
onto a boat. Seriously, you're gonna move onto a boat. We got all of Bill's friends were like, "Oh, you're moving onto a boat? Can you talk to my wife? How did you get Pam to, agree to that?" And Bill's like, "You don't understand my wife. She's like half mermaid. She said yes in a nanosecond." And once I got my head wrapped around, we were going to give away like all of our stuff that we had worked so hard for. But God really spoke to me. He's like, I want you to ask every day, whose name is on that? Whose name is on that lamp? Whose name is on that chest of drawers? Whose name is on your dining room table? Whose name is on that bedroom set? And I want you to look for my who I'm sending to you. And it became like really kind of a fun thing, like, oh, I wonder today who God wants us to like give to today. And a lot of military families, a lot of ministry families, a lot of young couples. It began to be really fun, instead of like stressful, to downsize. And then when you really get down to it, you have to be like really clear. We said we don't want to put anything in storage. Eventually, after our in-laws don't need us anymore, Bill's folks don't need us anymore, we'll probably head to, two of our kids live in the Kentuckiana, Louisville kind of area. And we'll probably move there, have a cabin, and be close to the Grand. And so we're like, we don't want to put a bunch of stuff in storage because that's going to cost a lot in California to store your stuff. It'd be better just like give it all away and start over when you move financially. And so that's what we did. And so you're moving on to a boat. And then we had we have like what we call our resource area. It's 12 by 12. And that's all of our business stuff that we have to stay in business, and our book stock and things like that. And then we have a little space of attic and a little space at our son's in Indiana of things that are legacy, heirloomy things that, it's like 4 cartons. It's not a lot. It's in the bottom of his basement. So that meant, okay, I have to have some priorities. And so we live in California. So the California fires happen all the time. They happen so often to us. We actually have a fire closet that all of the things that are cherished things or like paperwork we have to have, etc., one closet. So that's the first thing I went through is, okay, what needs to be given to the kids? What needs to go to Caleb's basement? What needs to come with us? Because we know this is priority. We've already made that decision. And then we went through all of our stuff. And like, if I didn't need it to have an income in the next year, or if it wasn't something that is irreplaceable in a fire. And now, most stuff is replaceable in a fire. You can go to Target, Walmart, you can get pots and pans and things like that. So it was mostly, okay, I only went to South Korea once. And the things that people that I spoke to at that army base that they gave to me, I will never, that's a one and done kind of experience. So those things are the kind of things that I kept. Artwork, the Bibles that had been marked up, all the books that we had endorsed, and all the books we helped get published, and our first edition of all of our books. But the rest of the books, I called up Mom's Ministries in San Diego. I'm like, hey, how would y'all like me to bring over a couple hundred books and some shopping bags and let your mom shop for free mommy books? And it was a win-win. They got to pick out their books, and they, moms at home don't have a lot of money typically. So, and I did the same thing with my pastor's wives, friends, etc. So God had a way of helping me, and sometimes it just came down to holding it up. Is this life-giving? Do you love it? And if it's not life-giving and love it, that means somebody else's name.
That's awesome. Yeah. So the audio's matching the video, girl. That's about the best I can say. That is amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, we try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a work in progress.
Going through your closet. Yeah, you have to go through your closet and your kids' closet and your clothes and things too. My friend Jill Swanson, who is a stylist, she helped me go through my closet. So that was super helpful to have a friend like, oh no, that doesn't match you. Like, no, that makes you look old. No, that makes you look fat. And she was kinder than that, but
Right, I know what you mean. Yeah.
but that helped. My closet's only about this big in the boat, so I mean that's not very many clothes.
Right. I love that. I mean, that
About
is
three.
just awesome. Yeah. So definitely, well, this has just been such a great interview. I love the things that you have shared, and definitely some great nuggets for the audience to really meditate, reflect on, and think about how they can, even incorporate some of the principles in their own life. So, what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
Well, hey, can I share just one tip for this
Absolutely.
COVID experience? Okay, so I wrote Discovering Joy in Philippians.
Okay.
And a lot of the questions we get right now is, okay, how can I choose joy? It's a choice to rejoice. How can I choose joy? What does joy look like in a COVID experience? And I just want to give two little tips. There's lots of definitions of joy. It can be, happiness. It can be hold a festival. It can be delight. It can be a greeting. It can mean happiness, bliss, thriving. But the thing that's getting me through right now during this whole COVID experience is my favorite definition of joy, and that is calm delight. And the reason why I like that is it gives you something to do when you're all stressed out. And so when, my mother-in-law stressed out and she might be like a little bit volatile, I'll ask, okay, what would bring calm to this situation right now? What would bring calm to her? What would bring calm to me? How about delight? What would be a delightful distraction for her? Cultivating delight for me. What would be some delightful verses that I can hang my heart on so that I can hold on to that joy? So I want everybody to just picture when you are going through stressful times during this COVID, just push pause and say, okay, God, give me some calm delight. Whoop, give me some calm delight. And it's amazing. He will send you some ways to do that. And I have some freebies and I'll send them to you, Rochelle, that you can give to folks.
Mm-hmm.
One is a proactive resource that will help you cultivate joy. And so when you're working with people that are first responders, stressed out, which like pretty much everybody is right now, right? So they always have them write down 30 things that will cultivate joy in their life, things that they know have brought them joy in the past. And it could be as simple as, oh, I love the smell of fresh cut grass. I love one simple rose. I love walking at sunset. Like we always walk at sunset together. We listen to Christian comedy on the way out and we pray on our way back. So those things cultivate joy in our lives. And so I have this worksheet where you write down things that make you have joy and then you color it. And the reason why you color it is that you can't think of your problems at the same time as you're coloring. It's physically, neurologically impossible. That's the way God wired that right and left brain to work. He wanted to give us a way to lower our stress. So when we use our creativity, it takes us away from our problems. So whatever you love to do to be creative, that's a good thing to be doing in COVID right now. So proactive, and then also reflective. And I just want to show this little picture, and I have a bullet journal sheet that matches it. But these are the things that have brought me joy during COVID. And I've kept track of the blessings during COVID. And what that does is it cultivates an attitude of gratitude, and that keeps your heart in a good place where it cultivates that joy because you're thankful for God. You're thankful for God getting you through. You're thankful for God giving you, calm delight. You're thankful for that joy that he sends in the simple things. Oops, joy. In the simple things. Yeah, so those are two resources. I'll send your way some links, and hopefully it will help the folks in your audience, those precious women on the front lines of their families, hold on to joy even in this, COVID environment. You can hold on to joy. And if you doubt that, they need to spend time with you, Lachelle, because you have this positive attitude that is so sweet to watch as a mom. So I hope they stay tuned into your podcast and everything that you do, because you give out joy.
You know what? That is just so special. And I tell you, it definitely is based on a lot of the principles of what you shared because, I love the calm delight because there are going to be things that are outside of our control, but there's things that we have to be intentional about. This is the element that a lot of us miss. We have the vision about the things that we want to have, but we have to make a choice and then we have to do the work to make sure that we manage whatever that is. So even going back to your Monday meetings that you have with your spouse,
Right.
you have to do the work. It doesn't just happen on its own. And it is being intentional and really honoring that time and building up that consistency and that longevity based on the things that you're doing, and making it a priority. Because we
It
talk
is.
about, yeah, stuff being important, but are we really prioritizing and being committed? I love, I was listening to a podcast one time and somebody said the quickest way to overcome any problem or obstacle is to decide if you're committed or not. Because if you're committed and you're 100% committed, that just eliminates everything underneath 100%, 99, 98,
Yep.
any of that. So it's like you're going to make it happen regardless. And so I love that. And just you have definitely illustrated that through this whole interview of the things that we're not talking about it being easy as a Christian. We're not talking about it being easy as a parent. And everybody knows we're not even talking about it being easy as a human being in this world that we're living in
That's
today,
right.
right?
Yeah, that's right.
But look at if you really observe and listen to some people during this time, they're so uplifting and inspiring, but it is a choice that they're making to do that. And being intentional, guarding their heart, guarding their minds, and the people they're around. And I think the element of really realizing the influence that we have on others.
Yes.
We can say crazy things, but we choose not to,
It's
and
so
that's the
good.
difference.
Yeah. And all that you said about being intentional,
Hmm.
that's reflected all the way through God's word, like Philippians 4:4. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. It's a choice to rejoice. And rejoice in the Lord always. And that word always means just a little bit longer, just a little bit further. So it's not
Hmm.
like God says, want you to look down the hallways and like know how you're going to plan out to have joy. It's more like I'm with you in it, just a little bit longer, just a little bit further. Like call out to me. I'll help you cultivate this joy. And then the intentionality is, again, I say rejoice always. Uh, that say part, again, I say rejoice, it actually means to lay down, to make a decision that I'm going to be a person that chooses joy. No matter what life sends my way, I'm going to choose joy. I'm going to make that line in the sand today. And when we make those decisions out of obedience, then our feelings follow it. Like a lot of people are like, Lachelle, how are you such a great mom? Well, you've made some decisions and you put some habits in, and they're non-negotiable. And for me, joy is one of those. Coming from that home of origin that I came from that was chaotic and confusing and negative, I wanted something different. And so I like, Lord, line in the sand. I'm going to be a person that chooses joy.
Love that. And, and I mean, that's just having a life that you choose to design. We can aspire for great things, and the Lord says it. He says, delight yourself in Him, and He'll give you the desires of your heart. But I
Amen.
think a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm going to pray to God and let Him do the work, and I'm going to sit back, because there's things He has equipped us to be able to do that helps mature us for receiving the rewards that it is that we're striving to get. So,
So
um,
good. So
some
good.
great nuggets. I tell you, you just did awesome. I feel like, look, I've been to church and back again, and
Verse
speaking
that you
my
gave,
language.
delight
Okay.
yourself in the Lord, that's like the verse that God used in the quiet time that said, Bill's your man. He is the
Mhm.
desire of your heart. So, I mean, that is so fun that God even wove that in today to remind everybody that God sees you, God knows you. Like, He's going to walk with you. Whatever's going on in your life, just show up with the heart of wanting to say yes to Jesus, and your life gets better.
Awesome. Well said. I tell you, well, look, we're gonna have to come back again. We are, Bible study. Okay, this is good.
That's great. Love you bunches.
Love you too. So tell everybody how to get a hold of you. What's the best way?
So all those books are available on Amazon, but we always give you a deal on our website, which is love hyphen wise. So we park ourselves on the corner of God's love and God's wisdom with a little dash in the middle. And if they forget all that, just put in waffles and spaghetti. We're the only ones that will come up if you Google that.
Awesome. Well, I just thank you again for coming on, your words of wisdom and insight. And I encourage you guys to follow them and look for some great, great nuggets and things that you can actually apply in your life, and, to help you make sure your audio is matching the video. Okay.
I love it.
So thank you so much again, Pam. And again, look, we may have to get together and do like a workshop, Bible study workshop or something. That'd be a lot of fun,
That sounds fun for
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say yes to you because my life always gets better when I say yes to you too.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, this has been awesome. Such a treat. And you guys have a wonderful evening. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you the next time. All righty.